the judge candidates will have 5 minutes each to give you their reason as to why they should be on the bench. We'll start first with candidate Danielle Brown, line 10A.
Endorsed candidate for City Court Judge. I'm running City Court Judge. Like I like to say, I'm not just running on experience, I'm also running on impact. I have a strong legal foundation, I have courtroom experience, I have a unique perspective, being a lawmaker, a legislator here in the city. I've passed law, I've practiced law, and I've helped shape legislation in Mount Vernon. As a city council member and a city council president, I've written and passed legislation, as I said, that affects public safety to access to services. And this means that I know how laws are made, I know how they're enforced, and I know how it affects real people, all right? In my practice, I've helped folks with estate planning and Medicaid planning. I've also helped businesses with formation, contract services, and intellectual property protection. I've also worked doing landlord-tenant matters, consumer debt matters. I also have asbestos litigation experience. I understand how courtroom works. I understand how courtroom decisions impact everyday life and how it can impact housing, how it can impact stability, how it can impact families and finances. I've seen what it feels like when it affects real people, and I've also seen how some people don't feel seen, they don't feel respected, and they don't feel heard. I'm not just someone who shows up to court. I'm someone who shows up to the community on a consistent basis, not just during election season, because I believe that a judge should not just, they should be neutral in the court, but they should be seen in the community, right? They should be invisible in the community. I've been raised here in Mount Vernon since I was 6 years old. I'm a product of Mount Vernon. I'm a product of the schools. I'm a product of the basketball courts. I'm a product of the values of Mount Vernon. And I know how to navigate a system that wasn't designed for us. And I know what it takes to lead with empathy. I know what it takes to lead with excellence. I also know what it takes to lead with fairness. And I think City Court deals with many interesting issues and sensitive issues, such as housing, families, those things. But what I think we need is someone who can lead with clarity, who can lead with compassion, who can lead with consistency, and a deep connection to the people of Mount Vernon. I truly believe that I have that. I think I bring the emotional intelligence, I bring the legal discipline, and I also bring real-world insight into the courtroom. And I don't just understand the law, I understand how it lands on people, and I think that's really the key. I've been endorsed by several organizations and people, including the Westchester County Executive, Ken Jenkins. I've also been endorsed by Teamsters 456 Local Union. I've been endorsed by 1199. I've also been endorsed by AFL-CIO. And what these organizations and these people are saying through their endorsements is that they believe that I have the heart to be on the bench. They believe that I have the experience to be on the bench. They believe that I have the temperament to serve with integrity. And I've also done it in the past. I will treat everyone with dignity and fairness, no matter their background, no matter their nationality, no matter their socioeconomic level. I believe that fairness and respect is paramount in the court. So like I said, judges must be useful in the court, but they should not be invisible in the community. And I've earned trust here in this community by listening, by being present, and by acting with integrity and purpose, and caring, all right? I'm ready to bring that same leadership, that presence, and that professionalism to the bench. I'm not just asking for your vote. I am asking for a belief in Mount Vernon that can look like it's guided in fairness, integrity, and real community connection. I'm Danielle Brown. I'm the endorsed candidate, as I said, for the Mount Vernon City Court Judge by the Democratic Party, and I'm ready to serve in Mount Vernon. Thank you.
The Honorable Judge Peter Diggs.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, my name is Judge Peter Davis. I'm a sitting Mount Vernon City Court judge presently. I'd like to thank the Fleetwood Citizen Society as well as the citizens of Mount Vernon for giving us the opportunity to be heard during the course of this. Well, I thought it was going to be a debate, and I thought questions would be asked. So, what I'd like to tell you about myself is that I've been a public servant for the majority of my life. And I'd like to delineate and go through what that public service has been. Before I even became an attorney, I knew in my heart I wanted to volunteer and I wanted to do things for others. And I got involved when I was in college at the pre-release program at Sing Sing, allowing inmates to get reacclimated to society so that they would not reciprocate. That was my dedication throughout college in terms of that particular program. I was also an auxiliary police officer. I volunteered with police and law enforcement because I majored in criminal justice. I wanted to be involved in serving the community and in enforcing laws. And I then went on to law school. And when I went on to law school and eventually became an attorney, I took a job at the Westchester County District Attorney's Office. And I prosecuted crimes throughout all of Westchester County. And I represented crime victims. I learned to have a great deal of empathy. I wrote charges. And that was my first foray into the justice system that I've been actively involved in for 31 years. So, what I would tell you after that is I then moved on to become a defense attorney here in Mount Vernon, an 18B defense attorney, and I've been in that court since 1999, 26 years. I've represented thousands of individuals generationally through that city court. I know people who have worked in that court for decades. I know police officers for decades. The employees here have been like family to me. The defendants that I've represented have been like family to me in this very city. I'm tired of people talking about somebody being born and raised in Mount Vernon. I know people who have been born and raised in Mount Vernon that have done nothing for this city. You can look all around and see individuals like that. We have to put people into office that are qualified to do the job. Qualifications mean quality. And when I decided to move on from 26 years, when I decided to move on to take the job, I didn't just say, well, I want to be a full-time judge. I said, let me become the associate judge. Let me become the part-time judge. That's what humility looks like. Let me train to be day one ready so I can be the full-time judge so that when people are facing eviction and incarceration, I can make decisions immediately. This is not an on-the-job training type of job as a judge. You have to be day one ready to deal with significant problems within this community. I have done the work. I have been doing the work. I'm recognized out there. You can ask about me. That is why I have been an adopted son to this particular city. And I've been here for many years doing the work. I came here from Jamaica. And as a son of the soil, what's important to me is recognizing the fact that being a natural, I came here at a time that green cards were actually green. Right? So, and I'm naturalized, and I'm not any less of a citizen of the United States because I naturalized. And I'm not any less of a citizen of Mount Vernon because this city adopted me over a course of years. So I'm going to say something that needs to be said, right? Because we have to stop putting people in positions here based upon cronyism and nepotism and so on. Intelligence, it takes courage to do the job. So the other day I picked up my phone. I went to my phone and I looked to see, because I've been using this example for 31 years, experience. Now, ask yourself this question. Would you take a plane flight from JFK to London with somebody as a pilot that has 31 years experience or somebody that has day one experience? I think you know the answer. Then I reached for my phone the other day and I saw the tragic flight that crashed in India. Condolences. Very, very heavy. The last thing I want to say. All right. I'm valid 11A. The survivor was on seat 11A. That is significant for me.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can't hear you, John.
I found it not useful because most judges cannot answer questions because they would say, may particular case. But these two candidates feel that they can answer questions. So if there's people that would like to ask the question, maybe you can go out there.
John, how much time?
John. No.
My question is for
Cheers.
Before you was a judge, was you elected or was you appointed? Yes.
So,
Was you elected?
I was interviewed by a committee of numerous individuals, some of them residents of the city of Mount Vernon, and I passed that committee during the course of the interview, and I was the one selected to be the associate judge. That's how I first became a judge. I was appointed after a committee selected me.
Okay. Before that, did you have any judge experience?
Before being the part-time judge,
Before you took judgeship, did you have experience of any judgeship?
Explain that.
Did you?
the answer to that is yes. And here's why. I became the full-time judge in January. I had several years of associate judge position before that. So the answer is yes. I took the associate judge position part-time to be ready to be a full-time judge. Anyone who takes this position should have been applying and taking the position as a part-time judge. So the answer is yes.
I was
Thank you, Master.
My question was, before you was a judge, did you have experience of judgeship?
Okay, thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. And thank you for the answer.
Say that again.
In case you missed what he said, is please have a question that both candidates can answer. Okay?
I would just like to articulate how much criminal law experience you have and articulate what the rules of evidence are.
We'll start. You both have a question? Yes.
And what are the rules of evidence in the court?
Yes. We'll start with you, Ms. Brown.
So, I don't have any criminal law experience, but I do have litigation experience, which is courtroom experience. Also, I'm not running to be the next district attorney. I'm running to be a judge, right? And the experience that you need is not only litigation experience, you need to have emotional intelligence, you need to have judicial temperament, you need to have community connections. You need to be able to interpret law. That's the job that I'm doing. Right now in our courts, it's not efficient. There are several things happening in our court that need to be changed. An example would be, first and foremost, folks go to court, they're in court all day. That hurts working families. So when you go to court all day, you have to take a day off of work, and that is going to hurt you. That's an additional day of pay. So some things that we need to change in the courts is bringing virtual hearings, because that is true access to justice, giving people an opportunity to come and show up when they can step away from work and tend to a speeding more parking ticket.
Thank you.
Look,
You wanna answer the question?
Can I have the rules before how much time
the
do I have to
magazine.
answer? I was in total 5
1 minute.
minutes.
1 minute.
No, the 5 minutes was for the statements. For the statements.
Okay,
So
how much
we
do we have?
Question.
got, for the question and answer, we're only going to go with a minute. 1 minute.
1 minute. Okay.
Yes.
I
Well, also, in fairness, the question and answer portion was not on the original program, so give us time to work through it. Okay. Judge Davis.
So, I have 31 years of experience in the justice system. 31 years in terms of both being a prosecutor, an 18B indigent defense counsel, being a homicide defense task force member, staff attorney with the Legal Aid Society. I've tried cases throughout New York City. I've done dozens of homicide cases. I've won many homicide cases in every single borough in New York City. I've also won cases here in Westchester County as a defense attorney. Now, turning now to the rules of evidence. The rules of evidence are there to allow certain testimony, exhibits into evidence.
You have time.
1 minute now.
Yeah, 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
Sorry, 15 seconds. Sorry.
15 seconds. The rules of evidence are there to allow testimony and exhibits to be placed into evidence, and that's what the rules of evidence are for. I've had 30 years of experience litigating cases, trying cases, 26 years here in Mount Vernon.
Thank you.
My question is on the topic of experience. Nobody has experience being a judge before they're a judge, but we keep talking about courtroom experience. I was a police officer for 22 years. I have courtroom experience. Can you tell me approximately how many cases each of you worked in a courtroom, regardless of what kind of law you guys were trying?
We'll start with Judge Davis.
More cases than thousands and thousands and thousands, both as a prosecutor and as a defense attorney over 3 decades. I've done hundreds of trials, felony hearings, preliminary hearings, suppression hearings, map hearings, Huntley hearings, every type of hearing, travelers hearings that you can think of. I've done violation of city ordinance, I've done tickets, I've done every kind of trial imaginable. I've done federal trials, I've done civil trials. I've litigated from day one to the present.
So I have hundreds of cases working in the courtroom, working with pro se litigants, working with clients. As I said, it's not, a judge is not basically all courtroom experience. It's about bringing fairness, bringing integrity, bringing impartial decisions to the court, and I believe that's what I bring to this community. As I said, I have the community knowledge of this city, of our realities, of the things that our folks go through. I know how laws impact citizens of Mount Vernon, and that's also a value. In addition, I've done more than criminal law. I have I'm well versed in different laws. I've done asbestos litigation, consumer debt litigation, landlord-tenant litigation. I've also done sports law, I've done contracts, so I have a different perspective when it
start with Ms. Burton.
Thank you. So my approach to young people in the community, or just vulnerable populations in general, is that I believe that justice should restore, not just punish. Right? So I'm going to look at the facts of every case. I'm going to look at the person's record. I'm going to look at the community ties. I'm going to see what public risks they serve, what public safety risks they have in the community, and evaluate those. But I'm going to look at each case as a human story. Right? It's not a case number. I'm going to, whatever discretion I have, I'm going to apply the law how it should be applied, and then use whatever discretion I have. I believe in restorative justice models. So instead of incarcerating people, we can get them in programs, especially if you suffer from a mental health issue. If we can get you in a diversionary program, that's going to be the route that I would like to see happen. So it's going. Our approach to each case is going to be impartial, to be just, fair, to be respectful, and treat people with dignity. And it doesn't matter what the population is, but I do think we have some vulnerable populations, and diversionary programs and treatment programs will be helpful in that situation.
Judge Davis.
Let me make this clear. Some people need to be incarcerated. But incarceration is the nuclear option. And we all know that young people, their brains are not fully developed to the ages of 16 up to 19, and this is why the law recognizes this, and we now have raised the age. And I do believe in judicial diversion to the extent that you can divert people from the criminal justice system. This is why, as a sitting judge, I divert many of the young people to the EAJP park, which is the early adolescent justice park that we have here in the city of Mount Vernon. Also, to let you know, I am the person who started and got the talks for the mental health court, which we will now have in Mount Vernon. After decades, I have finally got the plan. I got the plan in the last few months, just to let you know.
Thank you. Next question, sir.
Good evening, Lord. Thank you for coming out here. My name is Mr. Armando, 4-year resident of Mount Vernon. So both of you bring value to this community, and my question has to do with what do you foresee you can provide to young folks in the community that want to aspire to become like judges or lawyers and seeking to go in the pre-law? Like what can you do as citizens to promote that so that other folks can be your citizens?
Judge Davis.
First off, to be an example, and I think it's very, very important to be an example. And I lead by trying to be an example to my son, who's 19 years of age, David, who's in the audience. And that's very relatable that when young men see me in this particular position, and I sign off on individuals, young men who come in as interns within the court. Further, I'm in the process, and I've gotten approval to start a gun initiative to go into the courts here in the city of Mount Vernon and go by panel and talk about the detriment it is to our community in terms of the gun violence. And that's me being proactive on my own to get individuals and serve as a role model to this given community.
Great question. So I think brings several things, right? I think representation matters. So for young people, young women especially, seeing me in the role as a young judge, it lets them know that they can be in these spaces too, that they can be in these spaces at a young age, that they can thrive, that they can be somebody important for Mount Vernon. I think in addition to that, legacy matters, right? So it would be making sure that I'm doing the right thing, making just decisions, making sure that I'm leading with integrity. I think all of that goes down to children, and it's a model for them. And that's what I hope to bring, is have that legacy where I'm trustworthy, where I have integrity, where I'm being respectful to whoever comes before the court, whether they have representation or whether they don't, right? We're looking at real life situations, looking at whether or not someone being incarcerated will affect custody, will affect child support, those types of things. So I think I bring overall experience, representation matters, and I also think that young people would enjoy seeing me on the bench.
2 more questions. So we'll give somebody else another opportunity. Thank you.
Hello. Real quick, so I know everybody has different areas of experience. My question is, how do you stay current with the changes in the law and legal precedents?
Ms. Brown, to you.
Yeah, so staying current with the changes in law and legal precedent. As an attorney, we're required to do continuing legal education. So that's CLE, we call it. It's essentially keeping up with the changing laws, making sure you know what's happening. In addition, we look at other cases, so cases that come down from different courts, Supreme Court, other district courts. Also, you would look through different journals, there's tons of blogs and vlogs that tell you what's going on in the world. So, as with any profession, an attorney has to stay up to date with the changing laws. As with any doctor, they have to stay up with the changes in medicine. So that's how we do it, by attending CLEs, by listening to the people, by also going out and reading what's going on in other municipalities and other districts and other courts.
Judge Davis, thank you.
Well, as a litigator, first of all, litigators are only 3% approximately of the attorney population of over 1 million attorneys in this country. And any litigator knows that you have to wake up in the morning with a cup of coffee and a law journal. And you read that first to see the recent decisions that have been passed. And so that's where you start on a daily basis. You also have Lexis and Nexus, as well as Westlaw, to do legal research by computer. And you can do that at any point in time within the confines of either your home or your chambers, which I do. I've also made case law in terms of some of the cases that I've done, such as a double jury homicide case that I tried in Westchester County that actually made case law. I was the first one to do a double jury homicide case in Westchester County.
Thank you. And for our final question, thank you.
Yes, I have the final question of the evening. And as part of the judicial branch, how do you see your role improving the quality of life in the city of Mount Vernon? As you know, we have various challenges in that area.
Judge Davis.
In terms of improving the quality of life, well, first and foremost, you have to lead with courage. And I'm a public servant. And what that means as part of being a public servant, my dedication to such is that I took almost a $70,000 pay cut to do this job because I am dedicated absolutely to this community. So when I started in January over what I made last year, that's first and foremost. So in addition to that, I'm dedicated primarily to the youth in this community. Young black males represent a significant portion of the individuals who are not only incarcerated but also being murdered. I've had clients in this city murder other clients. So I've gone out of my way to lecture, speak to these young males everywhere without the four corners of Mount Vernon through the past 26 years.
This is Roman.
Thank you. So when it comes to quality of life, I think as a judge, the job is to ensure public trust in the justice system. So that means applying the law fairly, it means having integrity, it means being impartial. When you do those things, people trust the justice system, people want to participate in the justice system, and that improves quality of life. As a judge, you don't get the chance to, legislate from the bench. You don't get the opportunity to send services out to someone's house if you don't get it. My job would be to make sure that people can trust the public, the judicial branch of government, make sure I'm showing up with integrity, make sure I'm representing the system. So those would be the things that I can bring to life, that you trust that the justice system will work for you, and you want to participate in that justice system and apply, because you know the laws will apply fairly across the board.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to make a statement. This is the first time I've seen judge candidates actually answer questions. 90% of the time I've had a few judges before, and they always do not answer. Thank you both. She lent us